Hello and welcome to my VV Beta graphics tutorial. My name is Takuma Nakata. I'm an interaction designer based in Kyoto, Japan. And in today's tutorial, I'm going to share how to send some controls from vvv to Cinema4D to have a control on Cinema4D camera. And also a little bit of tips on how to send also like a geometry positions and things like that. And we're using this function, protocol called OSC to communicate between Cinema4D and vvvv. And this is sometimes useful when, for example, if you have, for example, if you want to have for example, with this, you can actually control the camera inside Cinema4D and move as if you want. So you can, for example, attach some wave shaper or whatever for your rotation or camera movement, and you can send that into Cinema4D. And also you can record keyframes inside Cinema4D. So for example, right now I'm receiving this keyframe from vvvv, and right now the timeline is like this. But if I press create no objects and record incoming data, and then I'll start listening. Oh yes, the timeline is moving right now. Delete this one. Oh yeah, and I should, yes, this guy is sending and start listening. At the same time, recording incoming data. And I just bring everything to the front. Oh, it's already recorded. So as you can see here, now the keyframe is being recorded, but it's a bit juggy because I think it has, oh yeah, from now it's working great. So as you can see right now, Cinema4D is recording the keyframe from Cinema4D, and then if I click stop recording, stop listening, then I can play back the camera animation I got from what's this one? From vvvv. So this technique is handy if you want to have some interesting control on Cinema4D camera side. If you have, for example, a spline that you feel more comfortable on making that on vvvv, then you can send the camera animation into Cinema4D directly using this OSC once you have everything set up. So yeah, I just wanted to share this. If you're interested in, for example, rendering your scene using Redshift, if you're familiar with Cinema4D, then we can use Redshift Viewer. Yeah, so this guy was the one that was previewing. Okay, it's not stopping, so I can turn it on, and we can render our our animation made inside vvvv in a higher quality. And there's a lot of limitations. For example, I haven't really discovered the way to send splines and things like that, but I mean, today I'm only sharing the basic stuff like sending camera animation and transforming the geometry. But I hope this will be useful for some of you who works with Cinema4D quite often. So yeah, let's get started. So I'm gonna delete the Cinema4D file, and then so yeah, this is the patch that we're creating today. It's basically just a setup on how to send OSC through vvvv. So first of all, we'll be working on this part. I think if you know how to play around with OSC, then you should be able to know the extend OSC on Blender as well. So if you have any different software that you want to use, like 3D Max or whatever, and it has an OSC plugin for that, then you should be able to play around with. So this is the OSC plugin that we're using for Cinema4D side. It's called fOSC, and this one is from who was it from? 10 FilmMember. Yeah, it's a great plugin, yeah, from FilmMember. And so what we have to do is we just have to download. It says how to install, but we basically just have to install the downloaded code. So go code and then download zip, and then you can put it into your specified plugin folder for your Cinema4D version. And once you're done installing this, I'll just open up Cinema4D. So all the instruction manual is written here. I have Cinema4D R21. It works with I think the recent 22 as well. I haven't tried it with it, but it shouldn't be that that different. I just open this guy up. Cinema4D is open. Once it's installed, if you go here in extension, it should say like fOSC right here. So once you're installed correctly, then you should be able to see fOSC right now and right here. And then if you open it up, fOSC should just open up. In default, if I turn off, I don't have this vvvv installed. I'll just quit it. Whatever I do, because it's not receiving any data, it doesn't do anything. There's no cameras, there's nothing created here, even though I have this create no objects on. It does nothing. So I have to make sure that OSC data is sent to Cinema4D with this port and the correct IP address. So yeah, if you're using the like R20, you might not see this extension, but instead of this, you might see a plugin as a tab, and then there you should see this fOSC thing. Anyways, let's start working on the vvvv side. Takes a bit of time. Okay, so today we're gonna start working with a blank project. But I don't want to create everything from scratch. So what I'll be doing here is, so if you go to your folder, vvv should be installed inside Windows C if you're using the recent ones, and then I'm using the 4D beta. And then here there's this folder called Girl Power. And inside Girl Power, there's tons of example patches. Today, we're going to be opening up this one called IO. And inside IO, there's this folder called Networking. So click Networking. And here, you should be able to see two advanced OSC. And OSC is the protocol that we're using today. So open this one up. And let's open up the first one. So the OSC example 1. So this is basically how we set up OSC, how to say, communication between vvvv and OSC. This is how we set up OSC inside vvvv. So for example, this part and this part is connected wirelessly. So as you can see, there's no connection between these two. But if I change the values here, should be changed. Oh yeah, I have this one. This 4D. Maybe change if you don't see anything happening. Maybe just change this remote port to something different, and then make sure that you have the input port in the same one. Yeah, now it works. So UDP basically communicates between IP address and the port number. So this one, since I'm using everything in local, I've set this as a local host. But for example, if you want your iPad to communicate with vvvv, then you have to make sure that you have the right IP address on your iPad and your laptop. If you're familiar with VJing using like Touch OSC, then that's what they do. So this is IP address and the remote port. And another thing is you have to make sure that OSC is specifying the correct address and type tags. So here, this address is set same vvv vector, and then yeah, the type tag. I'll explain about this one later, but right, today we're going to be using float. So this one is a float value, this one is a float value, and this one is a float value. So we're sending 3 different float values. So that's why it's saying FFF. If you're only sending 1 float value, then you only need 1 F here. If you're sending a string, then you have to specify that here. So you have to make sure that you're sending 3 float and 1 string. And there's different types. I think there was another one. If you open up a different sample patch, then here this one is sending a color as a indices, I think. So it's just sending the, yeah, like 0, 1. So it's I think I means it's, oh, integer, sorry. So yeah, well, you can learn from different patches. Today, I just want to share you guys how to send this OSC to Cinema4D. So I'll just copy this part and then put it here. Then I'll just delete these sample patches. Open up Cinema4D again. And yeah, OSC has some confliction. If you have several OSC reader open, then it might not work. So today, I'll set this one to vvvv camera. Then I'll try sending camera position to Cinema4D. I'll pick up Cinema4D behind. Then I'll have and I'll open up fOSC here. And then I'll add a box in the middle. And then I'll create a null and start listening. So right now, as you can see, nothing is happening. I only have cube here. But whenever it receives OSC, it should start creating a null. So let's get there. So right now, as you can see, this OSC is listening to port 7000 is set. But on VVV side right now, the remote port is set to 4044. So I'm going to change this one to 7000 to make sure that Cinema4D listens to it. And let's try changing the values here. As you can see right now, immediately when I change this, Cinema4D or fOSC just created a null, which has position here. So what happens if I change these values? Then, as you can see already, I already got this null position sent from vvv into Cinema4D. It was that fast. And as you can see here right now, the x position on vvv side and this null, fOSC null, is the same. So if I change these values, changes on Cinema4D side immediately. So this is what I want to do today. So yeah, so right now it only has a transform position, but I also want to send a rotation. And if you go into the manual here, fOSC says that the null object will be named the message. The first 6th number will be mapped to position XYZ and rotation HPB. So with this plugin, it doesn't send a scale. If you want a scale to be sent to Cinema4D, then you have to write your own plugin, or you can maybe, if you know how to work with Python, you can also rewrite on top of this plugin. But anyways, today we only need position and rotation. So I'm gonna make sure that first 6 number will be translation and rotation. So first of all, I'm gonna change this FFF to FFFF. So 6 Fs, because I want to send 3 translate position and 3 rotation. So FFF 6F. And then here I'm gonna create cons and cons 3D. And this one, I'm gonna change its name, Control I, and get this IO box out. Right now, the description name is I input, so I'm gonna translate. I'll just change it to position, and then I'll create another one. And I'll call this one rotation. So I have 2 3D vectors, and then I'm be connecting these two to the cons. And then I'll just connect this one to the format value and the change. And the reason why we have format value here is OSC has to always send message as a string rather than a value. So this format value thing is converting that to values to string. So you have to make sure that you have string connected all the time. Okay, so now we've got a rotation and a position. Let's see how that goes. So, okay, so we already got rotation on Cinema4D. As you can see, we can now rotate the axis of the null inside Cinema4D directly from Cinema4D, and also the position. Oh, that was fast. So, yeah, this is the basic setup on how to send OSC from Cinema4D to vvvv to Cinema4D. One thing we have to change on Cinema4D side is the rotation angle in Cinema4D. In default is set to HPB. We have to change this one to XYZ because vvvv's rotation is based on XYZ, so we'll just change this one to XYZ. And let's see how that looks like. So now it looks a bit better, I think. So now the rotation looks like it's working correctly, but we're not really sure yet. So what we'll be doing right now is we'll create a renderer inside vvvv to make sure, and then we'll create a group. And then let's create a box inside vvvv. So we'll use an axis and grid to show the grid, and we'll also create a font point. This is just a preview, and then I'll create a box here so that we can have the same preview on vvvv and Cinema4D. So a box. Then we need a camera. I'll use the orbit. Then connect the camera to the render, and now we've got this box here. Right now, nothing is connected from this camera to OSC, so we're not being able to preview anything on the Cinema4D side. So let's get our camera position out from here, from camera to this OSC thingy. So first of all, I need to decompose the transformation coming from the camera. So I'll use a node called decompose, decompose transform vector, and this one would allow me to get a transform values. And I just connected this one to inverse view, but I'm not really sure if this one is the correct one or if it was the other one. Yeah, let's just connect it to the inverse view matrix and then connect decompose transform vector. Okay, and what happens? Reset this. Y position, X position. See, oh, so it's wrong, I think. This one is minus Y. This one is plus Y. No, this one is wrong as well. View projection, inverse view, position. Projection. Yeah. View. I don't know, like it doesn't seem to be correct, but I'll just keep this one on the view projection because I think. Oh no, this one looks correct. Yeah, I'll just connect it to inverse view, and let's see how that goes. So I'm gonna connect this one to the rotation. Oh no, rotate. I want to connect this one to rotation. So this one is translate XY. This one is rotate XYZ. Rotate, translate, and position is basically the same. So I want to send this one here, but in Cinema4D, rotation is based on 360, so degree. And on VV side, it's from I think it's from minus 0.5 to 0.5. So I need to map the position on rotation values on vvvv. So what I'll be doing here is source minimum is 0.5, I'll map the values, and then I'll map the values. Source maximum to 0.5. So minus 0.5 to 0.5 should output 0 to 1. And then, or it could be 0 to 360. And then I'll connect these ones here. And let's see how that goes. Okay, so now it's like, yeah, transform is correct, I think. Yeah, it looks like it's rotating exactly the same how it should look like. So now let's try connecting this translate here. But as you can see, the value that's coming out from here is way smaller than what we set here as a position. So what I'll be doing here is I'll multiply translate output from vvvv and multiply that with like 100, so that I have big enough. Yes. Now as you can see, when we move the camera to the top, looks like it's working fine. Let's set an LFO to the longitude to make sure that everything's fine. And then LFO to like 20. So as you can see right now, the rotation transform seems to be correct. But I think, yeah, it's moving right. And then if I move to back, then it goes back. When I move front, then it moves front. If I go up, yeah, so transform seems to be correct. But I think the rotation is a bit wrong. So for example, if I go up, then for some reason, this rotation axis on Cinema4D is looking up. But on vvvv side, as you can see, the camera should be pointing at the center of the box. So I think one of the rotation, oh yeah, so I think the rotation X is, I think the plus and minus is wrong. So what I'll be doing here is I'll create a vector 3D split, and then split the rotation value. And then I'll create a vector 3D join. And then I'll multiply the X value with -1, so that x-axis, X rotation will be the opposite. And then Y and Z seem to be correct. So I'll just connect these here. And let's see how that goes. Oh wait, I forgot to connect this one here. Okay, so now wherever I move, it seems like the direction for the rotation and everything is correct. Yeah, it all looks fine. So I'll just clean up a bit with here. And then FFF. Yeah, so what I did here is I just added a position and a rotation. I mapped the rotation value from 0.5 to 0.5 to 0 to 360, because Cinema4D handles degrees rather than rotation values. So then I put some part here. I'll just make this one a little bit longer. Oh, and then I also multiplied the transform 100 times because it was a bit different in Cinema4D and in vvvv. Okay, so this is what I did right now. Once we're done with this, as you can see, we should be able to have a camera moving exactly the same in vvvv and in Cinema4D. So last thing I want to do is I want to add a camera here inside Cinema4D, and I want to attach this null transformation with the camera inside Cinema4D. So, and to do so, I will be using this tag called constrain, So rigid tag, if you right click here in the camera, there should be a rigging tag, and then there should be a tag called constraint. So once you add this constraint here, you should be able to choose different things that you want to constrain. I would like to constrain the position, scale, and rotation from a null. So I'll check this one. And then once we checked, there should be this PSR thing out here. And then there's a target, so I'll put this null from fOSC into the target, and the position and rotation checked. So once this is checked, I should be able to see it changing live. I think right now the position is a bit too close, so I'll change this one to like 500 multiply. Okay, here we go. So now our camera position inside vvvv is constrained to the camera inside Cinema4D, and we can live preview the camera animation from from vvvv inside Cinema4D. And once this is done, I would stop recording, and start listening. And then once it's all rendered, I'll just stop listening and delete fOSC. As you can see now, even though I stopped the camera here, the keyframe inside from vvvv is recorded here. So I can play back the camera animation from Cinema4D and live preview it inside Cinema4D. So once I have this, I can render this camera animation using Redshift or whatever renderer you have in Cinema4D, and you can maybe add some object inside Cinema4D, make your scene look a bit cooler. And I talked quite long, so I didn't have time to talk about that part. But you should also be able to animation panel add some. You should also be able to add some transformation. Like for example, if you want to transform a box inside Cinema4D, you can also do that by adding another. Yeah, so I'm just opening up my other patch. So you should also be able to add another cons. So we had this cons connected here, but then I added another cons. And then on the other side, I added the transform of these floating blocks. And then I made two different address. One is for vvv transform, one is for vvv box. So this one is the transformation for the box. And then I made two type tags, FFF and FFFFF. So 6 FFF on the both side. So if you want to send, for example, 10 boxes, then what you have to do is you just have to create 10 address and 10 type tags and 10 cons to send through vvv to Cinema4D. And you should be, I mean, if you're not lazy, then you should be able to send as much as you want. I was too lazy for this tutorial, so I only sent the camera, but I also prepared something that could tell you guys that you can also send a box transformation. For example, you could be a sphere, whatever. And I guess this is quite interesting way of using two different softwares, one for rendering, one for animation. So yeah, I mean, for example, if you're interested in doing some audio reactive stuff, maybe vvvv is stronger than doing that in Cinema4D. So that was the reason why I decided to share this technique here. So yeah, that was it for today. It was a bit long tutorial, but I hope it helps some people interested in doing this kind of stuff. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.